Thank you for tuning in to KTSE-Now, where we like to keep the same energy. And today I have where the Justice Department, both under Obama and Trump, failed the Tamir Rice family. So this is from the New York Times. Justice Department is said to quietly quash inquiry into Tamir Rice killing. Supervisors denied civil rights prosecutors requests to use a grand jury for their investigation into the 2014 shooting of a black boy by a Cleveland police officer, but did not tell his family. So the two writers on this is Charlie Savage and Katie Benner. This was written 2 days ago, October 29th. The Justice Department decided more than a year ago to effectively shut down its civil rights investigation into the high-profile killing of Tamir Rice, 12-year-old black boy carrying a pellet gun who was shot by a Cleveland police officer in 2014, according to people familiar with the matter. The career prosecutors had asked in 2017 use a grand jury to gather evidence in their investigation, setting off tensions inside the department. Who cares? In an unusual move, department supervisors let the request languish for 2 years before finally denying permission in August of 2019, essentially ending the inquiry without fully conducting it. I mean, these tricksters, and the New York Times, they're not, they're complicit in all of this. They provide cover for these cops. And you can just see the wording in this stuff. They know what's going to happen already because their stories are built upon the struggle. And most of the time, the struggle is going to be black people. So they're not going to put us in a good light. They're just going to act like it's just this big misunderstanding. You got 50% people over here upset. You got another 50%. But the problem is you must have more of a percentage that doesn't want to give justice because justice is always denied for black people. But anyway, more than a year later, the department has yet to take the bureaucratic steps to close the case, like completing a draft memo explaining why it declined to indict anyone. And it has not told the Rice family or the public that it will not charge the police officer. A former federal prosecutor was representing the Rice family. What they said was that Samaria Rice was devastated because accountability was so important to her and her family. And that's how our families need to be when it's time to get justice. It's not time for a payday. I think we're probably at that again with this, killing in Philadelphia. I'm not sure, 100% sure, but from what I'm hearing, I'm just done looking into them because you do that and then everybody leaves and it dissipates the energy. We need to stick through on these things so that we can get justice. That's what these other groups do. But the reasons that they give for why don't make, too much of sense. But Tamir Rice killing became a touchstone in national debate over race and policing and prompted protests. But the prospect of bringing a federal case against Timothy Lehman, the officer who shot him, was broadly seen as challenging because prosecutors would need to prove that he had intentionally violated Tamir's civil rights. Like, his pellet gun looked real. A 911 dispatcher had failed to relay that it might have been a toy wielded by a juvenile, and Officer Lehman shot him immediately upon arriving. The investigation has stagnated in the final year of the Obama administration. President Trump put both of his, Jeff Sessions and William Barr, and they set the tone that the Justice Department will not aggressively police the conduct of local law enforcement officials. So nobody polices the police, whether that's federal, whether that's local. It's just, everybody polices black people, but it looks like no one wants to police the police. State prosecutors have broader latitude to charge police officers with crimes based on lower standards of proof, like manslaughter resulting from recklessness. But in late 2015, the Cuyahoga County prosecutor announced that a grand jury, on his recommendation, had decided not to charge Officer Lehman with any crime under state law. The outcome upset lawyers for the Rice family, especially after the disclosure that the prosecutor apparently permitted the police officers to read prepared statements from the grand jury without cross-examining them. The Rice family asked for a federal civil rights investigation, and the Justice Department said it was conducting a review. Since then, Cleveland agreed in 2016 to pay $6 million to the Rice family to settle a lawsuit. And Officer Lehman was fired in 2017, but the Justice Department has been largely silent about what was happening with this investigation. Current and former officials familiar with the matter, speaking on the condition of anonymity to discuss internal deliberations, described a dysfunctional and delayed effort. They spoke in response to inquiries by the New York Times after it learned that David Said, a lawyer representing a person familiar with the case, filed a whistleblower complaint with the Justice Department's Inspector General Michael E. Horowitz, accusing the department of mishandling the matter. Mr. Said, who was a senior counsel at the Government Accountability Project, assisting, whistleblowers, he approached the Times, it says here, after the Inspector General's office informed him last week it would not investigate the complaint. I don't know. I don't know if I believe that. But the ethical violations and professional misconduct by department lawyers is basically what the issue was. But Congress is weighing legislation to expand his jurisdiction. Mr. Barr has objected to it, of course. The case stagnated throughout 2016, the final year of Obama's administration, according to the interviews, including with Mr. Said's client. One factor, several people said, was that federal law enforcement officials in Ohio were reluctant to further pursue Officer Lehman. The Justice Department had obtained a so-called consent decree to overhaul the Cleveland Police Department on matters like training and wanted to focus on such systemic issues. In addition, officials recognized that it would be difficult to prove intent to meet the legal standard to convict the officer of a federal civil rights crime, they said. They don't need more training. They need to get locked up. This is where things got, to the point of where I just think everybody in this was full of it, because in 2017, when Trump took office, they put in two career prosecutors, Jared Fishman and Nick Reddick. And here it says they begin trying more aggressively to gather further evidence. Now, this is after, of course, the officer and his partner gave statements, Lehman. But one thing was where, in particular, they wanted to know the extent to which Officer Lehman had clearly and repeatedly warned Tamir to put his hands up before shooting him, as the officer claimed he had. Now, I don't know. I saw the video. I'm pretty sure millions of Americans saw the video. In what video can you even think that maybe he told him once to put his hands up? Just one time, let alone repeatedly. And this is like some investigation. And this is a joke. And then under Justice Department rules, criminal prosecutors with the Civil Rights Division must receive permission to use a grand jury to subpoena for documents or witness testimony. In mid-2017, the people said Mr. Fishman and Mr. Reddick wrote a roughly 20-page memo analyzing the case and requesting permission to pursue a grand jury investigation, which should have happened. Like, I mean, it's obvious that, you know, he didn't tell him repeatedly. I don't think he told him one time. Like, maybe he yelled it as he jumped out the car, shooting him. And that's like simultaneously. Like, can you give him a chance to put his hands up? So you have Tamir, looks like him on the left side of the screen. I think we all remember how that, not sure if that's part of the playground or canopy, forgot what they're called. But we remember how he pulled up, jumped out, because I'm not going to show the video. We should all remember exactly how it was only, 1.92 seconds that it took him to shoot. He should have parked further back. He had so much space back there to get on the megaphone and tell him to drop the gun, you know. And, you know, of course they're going to throw Trump in this because they want to lean it all to the Republicans because, you know, the dragging of the feet happened under the Republicans, but, you know, everything happened. You know, the killing and the ignoring of it all happened under the first quote unquote black president. Typically, the people said such a request is approved or denied within a few weeks, but no one responded to the memo. In fall 2018, the career prosecutor submitted a supplemental memo of about equal length that contained additional evidence and analysis, making the case that a grand jury investigation was justified, the people said. But that memo also yielded no response. The inaction prompted suspicions among career lawyers that political appointees were running out the clock. The statute of limitations generally expires after 5 years for obstruction charges, and the officers made their statements in 2014 and 15, but they had no direct knowledge of the discussions within the division's front office, which was first led by John Gore and then Eric S. Dryman after October 2018, nor about interactions, if any, regarding the case with the Attorney General's office. In July 2019, Mr. Barr decided that the department would not seek an indictment of the New York City police officer who had put Eric Garner into a chokehold in July 2014, ignoring his cries, "I can't breathe." Mr. Garner passed out and was later pronounced dead. Shortly after that public announcement, the people said word reached the career ranks that their request to use a grand jury to investigate the Rice case has been denied. So two totally different cases. Neither one of them deserved to die at the hands of the police. Nobody deserves to die, but they both had similar outcomes when it came down to getting justice. I think the only similarities in these two cases is the fact that neither one got justice. We have to, as a group, start looking to get justice instead of just payouts and then moving to the next case. And that's what it seems like we've been doing. That's how the media uses us to just keep the tensions going. That way you got this divide, you got the left versus the right. We're trapped in the middle. And Mr. Chandra said the stench of political interference hovers over this case and called the outcome tragic. But, this is not the only one. So, the political interference from where? This is just a human rights issue. They can just kill us repeatedly. because no one gets punished. There is no accountability for cops. There's over accountability for Black people. And then here's the last, it was devastating to learn that this supposedly law and order judgment of career prosecutors slow rolled the investigation to let the statute of limitations run out, hid from the crime victim's family its decision not to prosecute, and let the officers get away with murder and obstruction of justice, he said. Now, I don't see how you can try to blame this on one particular party. This is years of this under both administrations. So, as I said, they both failed the Samaria Rice family. We also failed them because we didn't stay on this for his mother, who was fighting for justice, not for no payout. She wanted justice. Thank you for choosing KTSE-Now. This is one of them cases that, you know, my youngest son was around Tamir's age when Tamir was killed. So this one really hit home